Hey, Connie here from Gliding Through Blindness, and today we're going to be talking about my impressions of what is wrong with the medical system or medical establishment, specifically in the United States, but I'm sure some of the principles could apply elsewhere too. But mainly, how I think a lot of this will be improved by technology and AI and things like that in the very near future. Um, and speaking of AI, be sure to check out my recent video where I talked all about the most recent things that are happening. And I also included a conversation voice to voice that you'll actually hear two of the Sesame AI models talking to each other and just carrying on a normal conversation is kind of far out just to hear that. And I mean, I'm sure the skeptics or whatever can say, well, they're just predicting one token after another. And in a way, that's true, but still, the results of this are still like the way they can respond to what a person says and to show that I mean, they can respond to the context of probably better than a human in a lot of ways, like in customer service roles, which I would not want to work in customer service. I'm sure it's a very exhausting and frustrating role, especially like when you have a client that is frustrated too and everything, and yet you're just the customer service person. You don't really have too much power to do anything, but yet your responsibility is to calm the customer and things like that. I think can be solved by AI. I mean, right now we're kind of at the frustrating stage with that too, though, because unless you have the very latest advancements, you can tell that it's AI. So that's frustrating when you know that they just have these robotic answers and can't really respond to the context of what you're saying. All they can do is say, press one for this or whatever, or just their and I mean, some of this is kind of true for the actual human customer service person too, that they can't really aren't allowed to think outside of the box and come up with innovative things. All they can do is, well, in this situation, I'm supposed to say this, and it's just very formulaic sometimes. So I hope that eventually AIs are given the um, access to come up with innovative solutions that probably even the CEO of the company or whoever else didn't think of. And so, yeah, I kind of went on a tangent there, but be sure to check out that video. And um, now I want to also tell you about something I'm going to start doing. And I'm still working out the kinks and how exactly it's going to work or whatever. And I'm sure it will probably evolve and change as time goes by. But I would like to begin promoting your product or service on my channel. Um, so I would rather not monetize this channel if I can get away with not doing so, because I know how frustrating it is to have to listen to commercials or try to find the skip button or whatever. So, in lieu of that, I'm just going to try to have people sponsor the channel by and then I'll just give a little blurb about whatever your product or service is that you would like me to advertise. Um so if you have something that you want me to give a little blurb about during one of my upcoming videos, like just somewhere near the middle or end or somewhere in the video when it seems appropriate, I'll just break off whatever I'm talking about and give the little blurb and then go back to the whatever the topic is. And if I get enough of these, we might actually do entire videos just promoting some of these things if I think they're very the viewers would find them interesting and useful or whatever. So just depending on all that, but you can send me a message via my Facebook page and just search for Gliding Through Blindness, and you should be able to find me. So you can just send me a message on Messenger and tell me about your product and what you want my viewers to know or whatever, and give me a link to the website if there is one, etc., etc. And then I will send you a link to my paypal.me so that it's very easy and convenient for you to um, pay me for this. And I will be charging $20 for your blurb for a one-time um, video. And if you want me to talk about it on more than one video, you would just send me another $20 or whatever. So that will be how it's working for now, and I'll keep you apprised of any updates. And I hope to hear from some of you, because I know there's a lot of things out there that sometimes people don't really have an affordable way to talk about. And sometimes, like a lot of Facebook groups and stuff, don't allow you to even mention your uh, service, which I can understand that. But that's so I just wanted to find a way that you would find useful, hopefully too, as well as it would help me and the channel. So there you go. So we'll see how this works out. But with that, we will get into the topic for today. Let me just make sure here that there wasn't anything else I wanted to say about that. I always feel like I'm forgetting something, but I usually remember the most important parts. um, but I did another video a month or so ago about just health and some good common practices and stuff. And there was a word I was trying to think of in that video. And this video is going to be more about the system, but the word I was trying to think of is discovery. Like, just what I'd love to see in the future, like from hospitals or whatever, is just a place where all the various services, or the most popular or effective ones or whatever, can reside in one place, even though they might be completely separate. Or maybe we would need to divide it up more by, like, if you have cancer, here are all the various options for you, like holistic, or just strictly medicine, or a combination of the two, or going by your particular gene DNA or whatever, what might be the most effective for you according to tests and whatnot. And maybe I'm sure there's a lot of things I'm not thinking of, since I'm not a medical person by any means or whatever, but this is just my off the cuff what I'm thinking, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts too, or experiences or whatever. And then I would love for the patient to be given, or their caregivers or whatever, or a family effort, to for them to be given a lot more say in the treatment, instead of just having to do whatever the medical system says. And if you need to sign waivers or whatever, I mean, that would be fine with me. Maybe some people would rather just leave it totally up to the physicians or whatever, as the people who know more about it, and that would be fine as an option too. Um, but I just think that the patient, 'cause especially now that it is so much easier for us as just lay people to do research online or whatever, and I know some of that, uh, some of the websites we might encounter might be totally, like, not good, not real, or like false information, or they're leaving out critical things or whatever. But I think there are some trustworthy, like there could be a way to rank these websites by like peer reviewed by physicians and others in the field, because I think there is value for everything, like chiropractic, which I think that might be becoming more accepted now. I mean, so yeah, to rate the and hear people's proven, like, have their medical records, if they're um willing to share those on these various websites so that we can actually look at their results and confirm as much as is possible or something like that. So just a total restructure of the whole thing, basically, which I'm sure wouldn't happen overnight, but gradually, I hope that something like this will become more realistic. um and because like uh my own experience with this would be like my parents, like, I just learned that, well, we had decided to put my dad in hospice, but then I started to learn things about that system that I didn't care for too, that I didn't fully understand before. And if we had understood some of this, we probably wouldn't even have ever used that as an option. But if you do accept like hospice or whatever, that means you are by default rejecting any kind of medical treatment. As I understand it, anyway, like I said, in my experience, all they can do is make the person comfortable, or like pain, like give they can give them like pain things and stuff like that. But like my dad, for example, was bleeding very heavily at one point and needed a blood transfusion. And so we opted to take him to the hospital to get that. And then we discovered that by us doing that, he could no longer be a hospice patient because we were accepting a medical procedure at that point. So then the our only other option after that, which, I mean, he got that and he lasted several more weeks. And it would have been just a great loss if we had not had those last few weeks with him, because that was when he was in the nursing home and I got to just be with him there and spend that precious time with him and whatnot. So after he was in the hospital for a few days, then we opted the for the hospice thing again. And that's how he spent the remainder of his days. And because he was in hospice, I was able to stay right there with him 24/7 or whatever. And so I talk more about that in the videos that I did about caring for elderly parents, because I was the caregiver for my mom, who died just a few months after dad. And so, yeah, but I learned just a lot of things about what I would do differently. um, if I had a say, or if we could like vote about some of these things, or just whatever, because I don't think I'm alone in some of this. And like mom, for example, when she had her stroke, the geriatric department just kind of told us that they would recommend that we just put her in, which was a lot like hospice again, as I understand it. Where if we chose that route, we she wouldn't be able to opt into any other like procedures and stuff. And we didn't want that because she seemed like she was getting better and she was there for a long time, whereas she wouldn't have lasted nearly as long as we have if we had just gone the geriatric route. But what I wish, I hope that's the right word I'm trying to say. um but I wish there could have just been a thing in the middle, because we said no. And like I said, she lasted for a long time after that. But the what I didn't like about the other extreme then is that we had to just submit to all of these tests and stuff for her that just made her completely exhausted. And we're just I mean, because either you accept no medication, or you have to accept like everything, whatever can possibly be done must be tried. Which in that situation, like at her age and just how weak she was and everything. I just don't think that was the right answer, and just the way it was just so like blithely, oh, I'm gonna recommend that she get a MRI or whatever the test was. Like, and those cost like 20,000, or I mean, I don't know exactly, I don't remember exactly, but just many thousands of dollars per time. And like she would have several of these types of things in one day sometimes, and usually it was at least once per day, as far as I can remember, that she would have to be subjected to this. And like she was scared and wasn't sure what was going on, and we would try to explain it to her and stuff, but she still just didn't know what to think, and it was just very uncomfortable, like having to be still and just not knowing. And like I couldn't go with her to some of these, and so she was like by herself with people she didn't know and all that. And I just don't really know the ultimate benefit. I mean, I guess they were probably measuring brain waves and stuff, which I mean, so I can see it from both sides, because if we wanted to optimize for success, I guess, then we needed to trust their judgment and just have all these things done. But just on the other hand, yeah, there just seemed to be a false dichotomy in a way, that either I had to agree to all of this stuff, or I didn't care about my mom, or I wasn't doing as much as we possibly could for her, or just that we do one extreme or the other, or we basically leave and just we have to be on our own, which of course that wasn't an option either, because she couldn't like take care of herself or feed herself or anything like that, which is why I wish we would have lived in the age of robots, but that wasn't a thing yet, of course, at that time. um and all of these things, like I said, were so expensive, and like most of the money wasn't coming out of my pocket, or our family's expenses or anything, because she was on like Medicare or whatever, thank goodness. But I mean, still, the point just still remains that I mean, like, how are these people taken care of before all these many tests and things? And I mean, maybe the argument can be made that people weren't taken care of as well before all that. But by the same token, um, I just think the the family, or it should be given a little bit more choice in whether each procedure should be done, or like what is the likelihood that this would help, or that it would be very effective in helping diagnose further options, versus if we don't do it or whatever, or just something like that. I mean, I definitely don't have all the answers here, but I'm just kind of throwing ideas out there. And so like, I know the medical establishment would have more knowledge about the possible side effects if we didn't do this or whatever, which would be valuable information to take in and consider. But we, as the family members, knew more about mom in particular, about her personality and just her tolerance level, because we like, me being there with her all the time, I was like really like tuned in to when she was just becoming like mad or upset or frustrated with all this rigmarole, etc., etc. um and and like the whole pills thing too can be bad, like when they prescribe so many drugs, and then on the other hand, people that really need the pain meds sometimes or whatever have other regulations where they can't get what they need. So yeah, it's kind of a mess. But like my grandpa, for example, was prescribed so many drugs at the last few years of his life, um, even before he went into the nursing home or whatever. But he was just like sleepy all the time, and I am just like, nothing was done to make sure that he took the right thing at the right time, and I'm sure he often didn't. Because my grandma was like kind of trying in charge of that, but she was kind of scatterbrained too about that sometimes. And just, I mean, I think there is a lot more available now for that type of thing, where you can like probably have devices or whatever that keep track of the time and when you need what medicine and how much you need, etc., etc. But back then, they're like um, late 90s and onward, there wasn't that kind of thing nearly as much. And so, like, that was sad for disabled people too, or like blind people who couldn't read their prescription bottles, and there weren't other options back then for apps that could read it to us, or just yeah. So that's another area where I think technology has become so important. And like now there's even um, websites where you can order the things and it is delivered to you, so you don't have to try to figure out that aspect, like how to get to the pharmacy and pay that extra cost and deal with all that or whatever. And like I've said in other videos, I think technology and AI will be a total game changer. In less than a decade, people will be able to see just how much it's going to do for us as individuals, like looking at our specific medical history and our specific genetic makeup or whatever, and coming up with the tailor made treatment just for us, which I can't wait for that type of thing. Um, and they'll probably just be much less invasive things too, where a lot of these tests and stuff can just be done right from the person's bed or their room or whatever, or even the person might be able to stay at home instead of always going to the hospital for some of this stuff. And so yeah, I definitely think there is light at the end of the tunnel. But so anyway, those are just some of my thoughts, and I hope you found this interesting to think about. And please like and subscribe and comment and let me know if you agree, disagree, or why not. And anyway, I will talk to you next time. Bye for now.